Welcome along to another edition of the West Cork League podcast with me, your host, Ger McCarthy. Remember, you can find the podcast on both Spotify and Podbean and download it to your device, or you can listen on our YouTube channel on youtube.com. Just search for West Cork League. A little later on, we'll be hearing from the West Cork League Secretary John Buckley and Dunmanway Town Captain Stephen O'Donovan, who'll help me recap an action-packed weekend and look ahead to next weekend's fixtures. But we start with probably the biggest game of the season, which I had the pleasure of covering for the Southern Star this past weekend. The undefeated league leaders, Drina Rangers, at home to the 2019 Premier League champion or Premier Division champions, Dunmanway Town. What a game it turned out to be. Drina dominating the first half completely, leading 1-0 through a Keith Jago header, but hitting the crossbar, skimming the post and missing a host of chances and only going in 1-0 up at half time. Second half was a complete reversal. Dunmanway Town redoubling their efforts, getting back into the game. Johnny Kelly popping up with a brilliant equaliser, and that same player, Mr. Kelly, turning and swivelling and finding the back of the net late on to win it 2-1 for Dunmanway. Now, this is a very significant win, and we'll find out why a little later on from John Buckley, who's got some amazing statistics as to Drina's home record and league record. But what it does do is it opens up the title race at the top of the Premier Division. This is a weekend where Ballydehob took full advantage of Drina's slip-up and took over at the top of the table. It was also the weekend that Spartak Musgrove secured promotion from the O'Brien Water Services Championship back up to next season's Premier Division. So a huge congrats to Daniel Toomey and all the lads at Spartak. They've had a fantastic season, far from over yet. They're still involved in the Beamish Cup and they may yet win the championship trophy itself, but they will be, Spartak Musgrove, a Premier Division team next season. And also all action in the West Cork Women's Sevens League, the Lakehouse Beauty Room Sevens sponsored league. Some significant results this past weekend, and also a fantastic weekend of 4 quarter-finals in the West Cork Women's Cup coming up this week. We'll hear about that a little later on as well. But we start with the reaction from Canon Crawley Park and last weekend's Dunmanway Town 2-1 victory over Drina Rangers. I got an opportunity to talk to manager Andrew Healy of Dunmanway Town immediately afterwards, and also co-manager Declan Deasy of Drina Rangers. Andrew Healy, as performances go, second half performances go, that's got to be up there with the best, but at 1-0 down at half time, were you thinking the worst?
No, I think to be fair, we said at the start that we were going to play into the wind. We travelled light on numbers, so even if we played with the wind and got a goal, we would have been under the cosh for the second half. So fortunately the toss went our way and we came in 1-0 down. That's exactly what we were kind of saying, come in with a draw or 1 goal down, and then we got a good start to the second half. They played very well in fairness. They were excellent in the second half.
Now, you lost your goalkeeper Darren at half time to an injury. I mean, that required a reshuffle, but Pat McCarthy came in and did fantastic.
He was excellent. In fairness, he for Pat is not a goalkeeper, but he's committed to the club, and he's been a stalwart in the club over the years. So to have someone like him come in with his GA skills as well. To be fair, he came for a lot of balls and caught them, and there was a couple of times as the next goalkeeper myself I was looking going, no Pat, that's not a good idea, but to be fair, he got there and kept a clean sheet.
And we've talked about Johnny Kelly before, and we know his qualities, and we've seen his qualities down through the years, but when the chips were down today, he took his 2 goals superbly.
Absolutely, yeah. In fairness, I've watched Johnny as a player since under 12, and his first goal, the power of the header, but the second goal with his back to the goal, and just turn, swivel and bang. There was no keeper in Cork would have saved either of the goals, so he was excellent.
Now, you've got the victory, you're 4 points behind Drina with 2 games in hand. Ballydehob are up there as well, but as I said to Stephen O'Donovan earlier, you've got to go and win those games now. I mean, now's the time you need the commitment, now's the time you need to hit a bit of form and go on a run.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our form, I think we're on 6 or 7 victories in a row now, so our form is good, and we went into the game today and we said, right, and you look at the team that's top, that's all. You don't look at the teams that are second or third, and you do the numbers on it. We said we're 7 points behind Drina, 2 games in hand. Our aim is beat Drina twice. We're a point behind them with 2 games in hand, and we keep it within our control. If we had dropped points today, then it's out of our control. You're looking for someone else to do favours, so our objective is just keep winning. That's all we can do.
And just looking at the table and the teams that are up near the top of the table, there's not long to go now. There are only a handful of games. As well as I do, Drina aren't gone away.
100%, yeah. And I mean, Drina are a very, very good team, and they're always a very good team. And they started today exactly as we thought they would. They played fantastic soccer in the first half. The wind was a factor, so they had the advantage in the first half. We had the advantage in the second half. And to be fair, 2 good goals from Johnny, and that was the difference in the game.
Disappointment, obviously, for Drina. 1-0 up, he had a couple of chances to kill them off and he didn't do it. And you know as well as I do from all years, Dunmanway has the quality to run teams, and that's what they do.
You were calling it right there, really. We dominated. There was a fairly strong wind there. We dominated the first half as such. We created chances. Having said that, did we not take them? We hit the crossbar. Robbie chipped it from outside the box. Another day that would have hopped in instead of hopping out. As well as that, they scrambled well. They got blocks in even in the second half when we were putting pressure on them. We had a couple of chances. They threw their bodies on the line. They got the breaks in the day. There wasn't much between the teams. Remember, we got 2 quality goals at the end of the day to win it.
Okay, so that was the aftermatch reaction from last Sunday's big game in the Premier Division. Of course, Drina Rangers losing at home to Dunmanway Town, the defending champions, 2-1. You heard from Andrew Healy and from Declan Deasy. Now I'm joined on the line by the West Cork League secretary and the captain of Dunmanway Town. 2 very, very influential figures in that club over the last number of years. John Buckley, West Cork League secretary, and Captain Stephen O'Donovan. Thanks for joining the podcast.
No problem, Joe. How are you?
I'm very good. I had a very enjoyable Sunday morning and afternoon watching that game. Fantastic victory. John, I'll start with you. I mean, a fantastic victory, obviously, for a couple of reasons, but there are some statistics behind this particular game which are kind of mind-boggling, which just puts into context how big a win it was for Dunmanway.
Yeah, definitely. Like we knew, it has been a while, but these only came to light kind of today. They were brought to light to myself. The last time Drina lost at home in the Premier League was they lost at home back in 19th of February 2012 is the stat I've been given. They lost 3-0 to Skibbereen. The last time that Drina lost any West Cork League Premier game was in 2017, the 10th of September 2017, when they lost away to Ballyhob 2-0. So, it's been a while since they're not used to losing Drina, and that's why they're always up there every year. So going back to 2012 since the last loss at home, Drina, and yesterday, it was a long time coming again.
It was, but a very deserved victory. And Stephen, I spoke to you briefly after the match, but I mean, it's one thing to take on Drina at the top of the table. It's another thing to go to Cannon Crawley Park and win. But you did that. Now, you were under the cosh for most of the first half, as I mentioned earlier. You were lucky. I think you'd agree you were lucky just to be one behind at half time. But you turned it around big style in the second half.
Yeah, definitely. Playing against a team that they always come out of the blocks very quickly, and you know what you're going to get outside there. And playing against the wind, we kind of had to dig in and just kind of backs against the wall. But we always kind of felt if we could be anywhere near them at half time, as you said, we probably deserved to be down more than 1-0 at half time. But look, you've got to ride your luck at times, and we were delighted to get to half time only down 1-0. But look, we always felt we'd have a chance of maybe nicking one and hopefully getting a victory at the end of it. And we did come out to the better side of it, and we're delighted with it.
Talk to me about Johnny Kelly, Stephen, because he's a proven goal scorer and he's joined a very, very talented forward line in Dunmanway, but he delivered last weekend big time.
Yeah, look, I think it's no secret to anyone in the West Cork League. Johnny's a talent, and we were just so happy to get him back over the transfer window. But look, it's as I said, he is a talent, and he does come up in the big games. I think the last time I played with Johnny, I think it was actually in a Beamish Cup final. I think he scored in the same one as well. So, he's proven to be there on the big days, and I hope he'll continue now for the rest of the season and get some nice important goals for us.
Indeed, and it was a real team effort, Stephen, that got that victory on Sunday in Cannon Crawley Park. What does this do now for you? Because obviously confidence is high, momentum is with you, but you've been around long enough to know that even though you've got games in hand, you have to go and win them now.
Oh, it is. Like I said to you after the game, yesterday, we probably benefited from last year getting points on the board, and as you just said there, we still have to go out and win, but definitely with confidence. The fact that we were missing a lot of players yesterday as well, like the Colin Barry Donovan, our regular goalkeeper Stephen Daly wasn't there, Declan Dwyer. They're big players to be missing, especially when we're going out to a team like Drina. But as you said, we came away from a game yesterday where we should have plenty confidence leading for the rest of the season. But we're not going to get anything easy. But we're not going to give our league title away easy either.
Fair point. And John, finally on this particular game, I asked Stephen what this result did for Dunmanway, but what does it do for the West Cork League title running when you see so many clubs now at the top of the table?
Yeah, it definitely intensifies things. Definitely, we've battled up at the top now at 11 games played with 21 points. We've Drina, 2 games in hand. All right, in fairness, 1 point behind. Clonakilty Town just waiting for anything that can happen. 9 games played, 17 points. And then Dunmanway following them up with 7 games. I know they have a few games in hand, but anything can happen. Teams are going to take points off each other. I think next weekend Dunmanway and Ballyhab are playing each other in Dunmanway. There's going to be more of those games between now and the end of the season also. So, Dunmanway have to play Drina in Dunmanway also. Those games are going to be 6-pointer games, coming down towards the end of the season. Lots to play for, I'm just looking at the top, but there's also teams down there now being dragged in down towards the bottom as well. Last weekend, Lyre beat Doris. That was a massive result for Lyre. So it's all to play for both up and down. People are, you could be pulled in very closely down to the bottom. Win or 2 there, next you could be back in it again, especially if teams take points off each other.
Yes, and that's the beauty of the league this year, the fact that it's such a tight Premier Division with 8 teams in it that there's very little margin for error, as we've said on previous podcasts. Just on that Lyre Rovers game that you were talking about, John, a big 6-0 win for them, and some famous names on the score sheet as well on that occasion.
Yeah, Lyre, good home win against Doris. James Lynham scored twice, Owen Hartnett, Gerard Barry, we all know, outstanding player, Ryan Doonan and Shane Collins. They got 5 different goal scorers there, in a 6-0 win at home. Nobody expected that, I don't think. Maybe Lyre was always going to be a hard team to beat at home, but at the same time, win 6-0 against Doris. Maybe Doris are feeling the pinch with GA and everything at the moment. I think from what I hear, they've lost a few players as well. The immigration and everything, all clubs have suffered that over time. It's been unfortunate in their first year in the Premiership. We wish them all the best, and hopefully they'll come running again.
Yes, indeed. There was one other game in the Premier HighSpecCars.com Premier Division last weekend, Stephen. It involved one of the big title contenders in Ballyhab, and they got the victory at home to Bunratty that everybody expected.
Yeah, we probably would expect Bunratty, as I've heard you speaking over the last couple of weeks. They're probably going through a bit of a transition. A lot of young players coming through. Ballyhab probably would have been favourite to go there, and they were at home to go and win the game. Mark Cronin with 2, Callum Geary got 2, and Ryan O'Neill got 2. They're a quality side, and they're not going to they got to they took us to a final last year to try and win the league. They're a very talented team, and they're not going to not going to lie down. They're going to be coming at us next Sunday, and I just think Ballyhab are a very good side, and hopefully, we might get one over on them again next Sunday.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that game at the end of the podcast and previewing this coming weekend, what a weekend it's going to be. And as you said correctly, Ballyhab are now firmly in title contention. They have 11 games played with 21 points, point ahead of Drina and Clonakilty Town on 17. They've got 2 games in hand, and Dunmanway now in 4th with 4 games in hand on the leaders, 2 games in hand on the teams above them on 16 points. That's the Premier HighSpecCars.com Premier Division from last weekend, as we said, one of the games of the season in Crawley Park, but still lots to play for over the coming weekend. I guess, John Buckley, the big headline coming out of the O'Brien Water Services.com Championship this past weekend is that we have the first promoted club of the season, and a worthy team, and I think very deserving, and that's Spartak Musgrove.
Yeah, definitely. We have Spartak Moscow back in the Premiership, West Cork League Premiership. It's brilliant, great to see. They probably only got relegated because of a bad year, maybe because of GA and everything like that. That hampered them. But they came back this year, flying it in the championship. 3 goals away in Baltimore. Baltimore, in fairness themselves, they were pushing hard. They got a couple of results in the last couple of weeks. 3 goals from Spartak: Josh O'Donovan, Rory Keller, Daniel Toomey. Daniel Toomey, the man that carries that club. He's doing everything there, from washing the jerseys, lining out pitches at home. Getting the players together. That's what you need in every kind of a club. He's a star man. Like, he's doing everything great. Like, and he deserves the credit there for bringing Spartak back up there to the Premiership. Spartak, like, who's good? They're going to be a hard team next year. They haven't finished this year either. As well as getting promoted, they're in the chase of the Beamish Cup as well. They're a team. They're a farm team this season. Everybody's going to be trying to run away from them and not get them in the next round of the cup as well if they get.
Yeah, they definitely are one of the form teams of that division. It's great to see them back, and it's great as well, as you said, for Daniel Toomey and all the lads there. Put a huge effort in this year, and having them back up in the Premier Division will make the Premier Division even stronger next season. Coming up alongside with them, Stephen, a club that was expected to battle right down to the end of this particular campaign was Mizzen AFC, but they came a cropper at home to Riverside Athletic on Saturday evening.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of a surprise. Mizzen was a very strong team. I think they probably would have fancied themselves a little bit, going down to Riverside. I think Riverside are a bit young, and Mizzen, would always have a good bit of experience. They're strong, they're physical. But it's probably a surprise, if I'm being honest, Riverside to come away with a 4-3 win. Mizzen, in Goleen as well, and the fact that Mizzen were coming off, I think they came off a win in the Beamish Cup. I think they beat Town B. So, confidence would have been high going into it, and especially when they're pushing to try and get back in the Premiership. But look, Riverside went down there, they got their 3 points, and they're going to keep the pressure on Mizzen, and maybe, you never know, they might nick him at the end and get up before him.
Absolutely, that's the thing about the championship. It's been so competitive this year in both the early part of the season, and now as we move into the business end of the championship, that 4-3 win by Riverside was a big surprise. And what it means is that Spartak are top of the table and guaranteed promotion on 35 points. Mizzen stay in second on 29 with a game in hand. Riverside have narrowed the gap to 4. Might be a little bit too late, with a lot of results will have to go their way between here and the end of the season, but still a fantastic result for a young Riverside team. Great to see them back and playing such good football, and any team that goes down to Mizzen and comes away with a win must be doing something right. So fair play to them. We'll be keeping a close eye on the remaining weeks of the O'BrienWaterServices.com Championship. But as we said, fantastic that Spartak Musgrove have secured promotion, and now all they want is to make sure that they win that championship trophy. Into the Lake House Beauty Room Sevens Women's League, and this league, as we said the previous week on the podcast, has split, with the top 4 playing off for the league and the bottom 4 playing off for the Shield. The top 4, though, one of the big results of the week, John Buckley, you've seen enter Kinmare. You know what a talented team, what a club they have been over the last couple of years, the defending League and Cup champions, but they were held by Drina Women this past weekend.
Yeah, we all know Kinmare. They've won the league many times in West Cork, and they make the effort to travel and everything every week and come across the border and everything. But like, they were playing Drina's, would you call them Drina's women's second team? I wouldn't,
and I'd be very careful. No, I would.
Yeah, they've been matching. Drina Rangers AFC women's team nearly with results all along. They've unfortunately been being beaten by the Drina's AFC women's team, and I think that's what just in the league table puts them a bit behind. Drina Women's FC came along and got a 1-1 draw against Kinmare on Sunday. Katrina Maloney getting the goal for Drina, and Amy Foley getting the goal for Kinmare. It done Drina Rangers AFC's, title push, a fierce, push for them, and they're gonna, now it's they're 3 points ahead. Drina Rangers AFC, they're 3 points ahead. Same games played, so definitely it's all their play for there now again. And, that's so tight all year, anything could happen.
Yes, and that's true, and it's been a fantastic success for you in the West Cork League to develop the sevens game, because there's competitive games, there's regular games, and every team is more or less able to tog out most weeks, and if not all of the weeks. And that Drina Rangers team that you spoke about, Danielle Jackson's goal, solitary goal against an improving Beara, was a vital one, because it meant, as you said, that they've opened up a 3-point gap. It will now come down to the final game of the season between those two teams, and what an occasion, John Buckley, that should be, not just for the two teams themselves but also for women's soccer in West Cork.
Yeah, Drina Rangers AFC had to go out and win their own game as well, and by the looks of it was a tight game, only a 1-0 win. Danielle Jackson getting the goal, Beara put it up to them. Beara they haven't rolled over any time all season. It's great to see that it's very, very competitive, that the games are so close all this year. I've been at meetings, and this West Cork 7 is what other leagues all around Ireland are actually looking up to. It's something that other leagues in other counties and everything are looking to trial. It's been a roaring success for us. Credit to Eamon Connolly, who put all this together. We were trying for the 11 aside, and we were looking like we were going to fail 2 years ago. But in fairness, now we got this going. But credit to the women that are participating in it, and that seem to be really loving it. All I've heard is good things about it. Domanway, I know from speaking to some of the girls here in Domanway, and Claire Hurley, who's involved in Cork Sports Partnership, who has put a lot of effort and sponsorship and everything into this and driving it big time. They were involved in the Shield as well, and they lost 2-0 to Bantry Bay Rovers women's team. Emily Barrett and Corny McCarthy scored the goals there. They're saying great things about it. Anybody I meet anywhere around, they're saying great things around about it. As I say, word is getting out around outside of Cork. Even their clubs, leagues are coming up to me. They're asking us about it, how we're running it. So it's great to hear that it's success down here, number one, and number two, as well, that other leagues are hopefully going to try and run this as well.
Yeah, and rightly so too, because from the West Cork League Committee's point of view, getting women's soccer up and running again is not an easy task, but this is a fantastic first step, and it's great to hear that other leagues are taking notice. And I'm hearing as well that other areas in West Cork are getting interested, and who knows, maybe next year we might have an expanded league. That does wrap up all of last weekend's action and all the results. And now the final part of our podcast, we're just going to look ahead to what's another busy weekend, both of men's and women's soccer in West Cork. We start on Saturday.
Can I just,
you can?
ladies, there just 1 second there, if you don't mind.
Right.
We've had great interest for next season. Like, we've had an interest from Kinsale and Macroom. We've interest from clubs, coming very, from even as closer to Cork City, even wanting to join this league. So, if any other clubs want to come along and get involved and get interested in this, give us a shout. We're always open to ideas. The same goes for I was at a West Cork Schoolboys meeting last Tuesday night, and clubs are on about the under-17s because of, we've gone to under-19s in the West Cork League, and, the under-16s is the last level in the West Cork Schoolboys League, and there's a big drop-off there in between. The West Cork League, we've said it at loads and numerous meetings, whether we don't know whether the word is going back to clubs or not, but we are ready and willing to run an under-17, whether it's a short season from now until the end of this summer season, or whether it's a longer season, whether we start from next September. We're ready and willing to run an under-17 league also. So if there's clubs out there that want to come along and enter an under-17 league, get in contact with any member of the West Cork League. You all know who we are. Get in contact.
Well said on the Women's League as well. Hopefully people who are listening to the podcast will spread the word, and we'll have an under-17 league before long, and perhaps even a bigger West Cork Women's League heading into next season. No reason whatsoever why we shouldn't. Let's turn to next Saturday and the fixture list, which begins with the Under-19s West Cork League. And Stephen, Dunmanway Town taking on Toher Celtic at any level is always an occasion and a game worth going to see. But you've probably seen firsthand the benefit an Under-19 league in West Cork has had on the Dunmanway junior team, because it's giving your younger players an opportunity to play regular football.
Oh, definitely, as you said, Dunmanway Town playing Toher at any level, bragging rights are going to be a big thing, but as you said, it definitely gives players that kind of base, just stepping out with the under-18 into that, just below with the junior level, and we've definitely benefited from the last couple of years where we were kind of in a bit of transition. You'd like to Cathal Daly coming through, Colin Barry, Stephen Daly. Like we've had very much success with lads coming through from underage, and that definitely looks like a good game. I might actually go and see it myself if I'm around on Saturday.
Good man, supporting the club. Fair play, and it's an important one because both teams are joint second on 13 points apiece. The winner of that one will overtake the current leaders, Bunratty United, and a draw would put a three-way tie at the top of what's been a very, very exciting and a quality league for some of the games that I've covered for the local newspapers. Been quite a good league this year, and hopefully that will go from strength to strength as well. On to Sunday, the 9th of February, and let's start with the West Cork League second division. There's 3 games down for decision. Castleac hosting Ulta Celtic at 11 a.m. Castletown Celtic taking on Dunmanway Town B at 11 a.m. and Drina Rangers B taking on Kilbrittain Rovers at 11:30. Now this particular division, John Buckley, since the split is pretty much wide open. It's still early days, but Drina Rangers B on top with 6 points. But as we've been saying on previous podcasts with all our guests, it's a very, very hard league to call. But between Drina B and Kilbrittain at the top of the table, that's an important game now because they're only separated by 2 points.
Yeah, definitely. Kilbrittain had the game in hand, I suppose. All right, they can pip them, but Drina, I think they went up Castletown 2 weeks ago. The week before that, the week after that, they came along and they put Tor Celtic in the Beamish Cup, and take extra time. They seem to be the form team. If I was to pick a team in this before the season, before the split, I'd have probably picked Kilbrittain. They were probably unlucky to slip into Division 2. I think it was on the last day that they actually slipped in. But, Drina, they won, I think, as far as I know, they won this division last year as well. They'll probably be fighting to hold on to it as well for as long as they can. But I still think Kilbrittain, they're going to put it up to them. Drina probably are the form team at the moment again in that division. But at the same time, you can't count out Kilbrittain. I still think they should have been up there, in the top of division, in the Division 1. They should still have been up there challenging. Probably a little bit of loss of form, maybe towards the latter end. But I think looking at their results all through the season, they should. I would think they should be the form team. If I was to put money on it, I think they should be the team that would win that division this year.
Bold statement there, John. Hopefully that won't come back to haunt you like a lot of my predictions do in the podcast.
We've heard loads of bold statements from the likes of Mr. Leahy and Mr. Helen in the past. So that's just another little one.
Fair play. Very quickly, I'm just going to briefly outline that this is a big weekend in the West Cork League Women's Sevens because the Cup quarter-finals are down for decision. Drina Women's taking on Inter Kinmare at 1 o'clock at the Dunmanway Astro, and then Dunmanway Town facing Beara AFC at 2:15 at the same venue. Beara Women's FC will take on Ulta Celtic at 3:30, and we round off a busy weekend of quarter-finals with Bantry Bay Rovers Women's taking on the league leaders at the moment, Drina Rangers AFC at 3 o'clock. That's at the Bantry Astro. I'm going to move now quickly into the O'BrienWaterServices.com Championship because there's one game, Stephen, down for decision this weekend. It's Skibbereen at home to Mizzen AFC, and I would imagine after losing at home by the odd goal in 7 this past weekend, you'd imagine, Steve, that Mizzen will not want to make any mistake this weekend, but a tough game against Skib.
Yeah, after losing Dale to Riverside at the weekend, they're going to want to get back on the winning track again. I think they have a 4-point lead on Riverside, and they don't want to be slipping anywhere near them. Skibbereen, you're never going to get anything easy off them. They haven't had they've had a good season. They actually knocked Drina out of the Beamish Cup. I don't think Mizzen will get anything easy off them. And Skibbereen have 2 games in hand as well, so I think, I wouldn't like to call it. I'd probably sit in the fence.
Yeah, you're sensible, like the other 2 people on this podcast making rash predictions like we were in previous weeks. It is a tough one to call, but a big one for Mizzen. It would all but solidify promotion for them, but remember Skibbereen are chasing that playoff spot as well, and they need to win all the remaining games. So at 2:30 at the Baltimore Road on Sunday, that should be a cracker. We finish this week's podcast with the three big games in the Premier HighSpecCars.com Premier Division and what important games they are. Clonakilty Town FC at home to Bunratty United at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Dunmanway Town at home to Ballydehob at the same time, whilst Drina Rangers look to bounce back against Beamish Cup winners from last year and the team that beat them in the final, Toher Celtic at half 2. Right a headline out of that. John Buckley, I'm going to start with the Clontown Bunratty game briefly. You would expect on current form and because of their struggles, Bunratty, Clontown really can't slip up here, can they?
You think not? Outside in Dara is a hard place to go. Most of the team are always, hard to beat at home. You're always going to fear them. But then again, we're at this time of the season when nobody has a full team. Players go missing for different reasons. But and Bunratty have a good young team. Danny O'Driscoll up front. There's a few of them there. They're well able. It all depends on Clonakilty. If Clonakilty Town can put out their full team, you'd expect them to win this game, all right. But anything can happen.
I'm sure Mr. Lee, the manager of Clonakilty Town, will be delighted with that assessment. I'm sure I'll hear about it.
That was on purpose so that he could get out his full team.
He'll be delighted. Right, we're moving very quickly on because my phone will start buzzing. Drina Rangers and Toher Celtic, Stephen. You played Drina last week. You've already played Toher this past season. Look, it's a 6-pointer, for want of a better cliche. Drina will want to bounce back, and Toher, who have been, the form hasn't been great this season. I think they'd admit that themselves. Drina really need the 3 points here, but considering the result last week and considering how hard it is to play against Toher, could we be looking at another shock here?
Look, as you said, I don't think Drina are coming off a loss. Last Sunday they were going to want to get back on and put the pressure back on. Like Ballydehob were top, it's known they don't like playing Toher, whether it's outside in Kennecolly Park or above in the racefield. Drina do not like playing Toher.
Toher get everybody out, don't they, for those games? Yeah. That's the local derby of the highest degree.
Yeah, and Toher they don't want to be they want to get their 3 points as well. Like they're being kind of dragged down into that last 3 places as well. Like if they could get 3 points there, to be a massive result for them with their 2 games in hand and lawyer. But
Toher need a win as well.
Need a win. Yeah,
they need a win. Like they're not safe yet. They could be dragged into it.
All right, lads, call it for me, so.
A draw.
Toher.
You think Toher?
Fair play, Steve. Okay, and that leaves us with one final game, and probably if last week's game was one of the biggest games of the season, this game comes close to it in terms of importance for both teams involved. Now, I know Dunmanway have games in hand, lads, but this is Ballydehob and you're at home. This is not going to be easy, and Ballydehob are kind of running out of games, so they need to pick up maximum points between now and the end of the campaign. Stephen, playing Drina is probably the best possible preparation you could have heading into a game against Ballydehob, though.
It is. Definitely, we missed the week before as well, so to get a game in, and I just said to play it like the Drina in a game with the intensity we played it at yesterday, we definitely benefit from it, and I suppose coming in off a win, our confidence should be high enough. Ballydehob, look, we're not going to get anything easy off. They're top of the league.
They're top of the table for no reason. Exactly. They're a farm team.
We're after playing them 5 times. The last 5 times, I think we're after drawing with them 5 times last week.
They've 30 goals scored this season.
Yeah.
They're the highest goal scorers in the Premiership this season. Like the Mammoth Town of 18. I know they've 4 games less played, but
like Macron
scores goals every week.
Yeah. Our defence are definitely going to have to be on their A game to stop the likes of him. Look, it's always been the same with them. They're strong, they're physical, but look, we'll be there. We'll give them a go. We come out the right side of it. We do.
We know that from Ballydehob over the years as well. It's not just Macron. Like Tim
Regan inside midfield is very strong and physical.
Yeah, especially one of them there can bang in a goal there. Yeah. They're fierce players. Like they're willing to score. I think they had 3 goal scorers last week. Each scored 2 goals. They're going to be a farm team. They're going to come there. They won't fear the man at all. No.
Very magnanimous of you, lads. Delighted to hear you talking them up so much. I must say, though, to balance it out, you're not short a couple of quality forwards yourselves in the attack that you currently have and some of the goals that you've been scoring this year. I know you've got games in hand, but look, we just finish up. Is it fair to say that a draw does neither team any good here, even though you've got games in hand?
No, definitely not for Dunmanway. I suppose they can't afford to draw because it lets Drina back into it again. And like Drina aren't out of it by any means, but it gives them it lets Dunmanway slip behind again with a draw. As you said earlier, there Dunmanway have the form players. Like there's a lot of people don't seem to know that Cathal Donovan is absolutely outstanding in midfield. Mark Buckley, everybody knows his name, but he's an absolutely outstanding player. Johnny Kelly is back onto the team, absolutely farm player. Cathal Daly, like that man can turn on a sixpence, and he can bang a goal into the back of the net if he's given that chance.
One thing I wouldn't forget either is we've Stephen Can and Aidan Donovan at the back were absolutely outstanding yesterday, especially in the first half when we were back to the wall against Gale Force. I know obviously you need lads going forward to get your goal. It's also equally important to have a defence like we have at the moment. So
definitely, like Barry Donovan, your brother was missing yesterday outside in Drina. Like he's another player that can chip in a few goals all season. There is players there in Dunmanway that can, as long as Dunmanway can come along and hold out defensively, we'll always go up.
Excellent stuff, lads. I appreciate that big build-up. Not that it needed it, but listen, that's everything covered for the coming weekend. And as we always say on the podcast, please remember that the latest fixture information, if there are any changes, best place to go is westcorkleague.com for all the latest up-to-minute information. The league can also be found on their official Facebook page on Facebook if you just search for West Cork League, and on Twitter it's at West Cork League. In the press you can find the West Cork League every week in both the Echo and the Southern Star, and this week's Southern Star will have a special match report from that cracking game between Dunmanway and Drina, as well as reaction. That's all. Before I go, you can again.
Three big games in the women's this weekend, all in Dunmanway, all from 1 o'clock, and 1 o'clock, 2:15 and 3:30. There's 3 women's games. Anybody that's anyway half interested, come along. There's a couple of hours there that you want to come along and watch some good women's soccer. They love playing it, and I bet you they'd love to see you come and watch it as well.
As ever, brilliant PR from you, John, and appreciate it. A triple header in Dunmanway sounds like a very appealing afternoon spent, and of course it's free entry. There's no actual cost coming in, so you can go and watch those games for free. And some of the best football talent in West Cork playing this weekend, 3 quarter-finals, triple header in the Dunmanway Astro, as you just said. Lads, Stephen, John, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It's been very, very informative, very, very enlightening to get the Dunmanway side of things. Hopefully we'll have you on again before the end of the season.
No problem, anytime.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, lads. And that just leaves it up for me to wrap things up. Remember, you can find this podcast on our YouTube channel. Just search for West Cork League on youtube.com. And you can download the latest version as soon as it becomes available, both from Spotify and Podbean to your smart device. Thanks, everybody, again for listening. All the feedback again this past week. Subscribers are up. Listenership is up. It's been a fantastic success. We're coming to the business end of the championship. A lot of excitement and football to come over the next couple of weeks. And we'll be covering it all here on the West Cork League podcast. Talk to you again soon.